Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. We have a fun little discussion today. We're going to be talking about some right to repair stuff. If I can remember where my other screen is. Where'd my screen go? There'd my screen go. Found it. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
All right. So we got Dan's here, and then we got Tech Haberdashi, who I believe is going to be playing the role of the devil today. Do I have that right?
I am indeed playing the role of the evil corporatist tonight.
Wrong button. The evil corporate. He's wearing Don and the Apple shirt and everything.
It's that's like right. Yeah. When I worked for Apple.
In full. Whatever his name, Steve Jobs.
Jet black. That's right. Steve Jobs black.
That's right. Oh, it's not a turtleneck.
It's not a turtleneck.
Yeah.
No, it's not a turtleneck. That's kind of no one else is allowed to have turtlenecks. Little known fact.
Oh, really? So no one's allowed to have a turtleneck at Apple except Steve Jobs. I did not hear that part of it. But anyway, let's see. Quantum Alpha's over there on Discord. Tiger Shark is over on Discord, and Strawberry Shortcake. Hello, everybody. Hello, hi, and howdy. And we got a true meme master, K-Zang. How's it going there? We got Silver Adventures. Howdy, howdy. We got Commander Petruk. Greetings to you. All right. So I didn't bring a whole lot of stuff other than I pulled up a couple little things. And so I'm going to let you guys kind of lead the discussion a little bit. So we're talking right to repair. And, of course, this is kind of a crazy and a controversial one. So who wants to take the lead here? Dan, you want to jump in?
Sure. This right to repair stuff is very important because other corporations are starting to get ideas now to do the same because of its juicy business model.
Yeah. And the last thing we need is that a coffee pot goes bad and you're not allowed to fix it.
Yeah, if your coffee pot, and that could be a good
the end of the world.
That could be a good simple example. Suppose you have a proprietary coffee pot that has proprietary software in it. It only will accept coffee from the coffee pot's manufacturer.
Well, Keurig did that. They actually put DRM on their coffee.
That's where I was going with this, but
wow,
your coffee, your coffee pot now will not make any coffee at all with any brand of coffee you put in it. So you have to call a technician that's certified only by their company. He comes out 4 weeks later while you're just drooling for a cup of coffee.
I don't know why I just didn't go down to the gas station.
It tells you you need a part that costs more than the coffee pot cost to actually make it work again, and it'll be 3 more weeks. Mm-hmm. This is an example of what right to repair is, and you're not allowed to work on it because it's locked in from the manufacturer.
Yeah, and there's a couple ways they're locking things in. One is by serializing all of the parts and then not allowing any parts in there that are against that serialization. The second way would be failure to have the parts available on the market, and the third would be failure to provide schematics. Now, we don't generally, other than Tesla's breaking the trend here, but we don't generally have this issue with automobiles because there is explicit laws that state that people are allowed to hire the professional that they want to work on their car, and they are allowed to get the parts to do so. So that is really what the heart of right to repair is to bring everything in alignment with the automotive industry. And, cars are dangerous. Cars can explode. Cars have all sorts of components to them. And we don't have rolling death down the road every year, except when Teslas get on the road. And, that's the only one that's kind of locked down. And so that's why there's a lot of push to say we need to have the right to repair things because that's the case. People, of course, are making different arguments for it. So, Tech, what do you have to say about this topic thus far?
Well, I think I have to do a legal disclosure here and say, despite the shirt, I am not an Apple employee, nor am I a representative of Apple in any way, shape, or form. I did this just as a comedic effect. I did work for Apple, but I terminated my employment in December of 2014. So let me just start by saying that.
And you also, though, it's also significant, though, you also worked at Geek Squad at Best Buy, right?
Yes, I did.
So you have worked in an area where computers and things were being fixed and repaired. So very interesting to see what your thoughts are on this topic. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think that, and let me just preface this by saying, for the most part, I agree with right to repair. There's a couple areas that I'm unsure of, and I haven't looked at a lot of Louis Rossman's videos. He's going to come up in this conversation sooner or later, so let's just
we'll just go ahead and transition to his screen now because
right.
Yes, I was planning on that.
So it's going to come up. Louis Rossman's going to come up. I also watched Linus Tech Tips videos that he's done on right to repair. So there's a couple areas that I haven't heard these two talk about yet, or that I'm unclear that they've talked about to this point. So let me just start out by saying, where are we with right to repair? And the first question I have is, should customers have access to non-manufacturer service technicians? And I think yes. I absolutely believe there should be somebody other than the manufacturer of your product that you can go to for help.
To clarify the point, my phone is broken. I want to be able to take it to whoever I want, whether that's me being able to buy and source and fix it myself, as I have done several times. In fact, I have a pile of parts for my phone. If my phone breaks down, I have a pile of parts here. I can swap them in and out of my phone. And I've only blown up part of my apartment once.
A small price to pay for success.
But I want to be able to do that rather than going right back to them. Okay, I'll kick it back to you. Go ahead.
No problem. So should the manufacturer stop non-manufacturer technicians from performing repairs? No. I don't think that somebody like Apple should stop the Rossmann Repair Group from doing repairs. And should the manufacturer stop non-manufacturing vendors from making their own parts? So if you go on Amazon or eBay, you'll see a lot of third-party parts, batteries that are compatible with iPhones or screen replacements that aren't direct from Apple but are compatible with the iPhone, whatever the case is. I don't think Apple should stop these vendors from doing so long as those vendors are not advertising their products as original OEM parts from Apple. So just so we're clear on that. And then the last one is, should customers have access to manufacturer-provided parts to non-manufacturer technicians? And to that, I say also no, which might be the controversial point here.
Okay, so clarify that one again. Say that again.
So should customers, so the end user like you, me, and Dan, should we have access to manufacturer-provided parts to non-manufacturer technicians? So should Apple be forced to give parts to to the Rossmann Repair Group? And I think no.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and if I would understand Louis Rossmann's idea, he would say he doesn't care so long as he can get a compatible part to fix it. And at that point in time, the question is that even possible?
Right.
And so that is one of the things that raises some of the gray area in the debate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep, I agree, and that's a whole.
So, do you think I should be able to go to Apple and get a replacement part for an Apple device that's broken?
If it is a product that Apple still makes parts for, so whether or not the product is in warranty, let's hypothetically say you have a Mac.
Well, I have a MacBook Air back here that's probably about 5-6 years old. It was given to me. It's not in warranty. I don't know if they still make that one or not. They might.
Unlikely.
So the question is, if screen goes bad on that, now screens I could probably find. So let's say the keyboard goes bad. You're saying that I should be able to go to Apple and buy that keyboard, but Rossmann Group can't.
No. That's not what I mean. Okay. So anybody that's basically, the argument is that Apple should not be forced to provide parts to anyone, whether it's you as an individual or to an Apple authorized service provider or a non-Apple authorized service provider who claims expertise in the area. Apple should not be forced to provide parts for a product that is out of warranty and out of support. That's the specific point I'm making.
That's kind of the counter to that, though, is that it's not something that you're going to compete for. Why should I not be able to fix it? Unless, of course, I can. Here's what I can understand. I can understand I don't want to keep the production going for a computer that's 10 years old.
Right.
But as long as that part is sitting there and they still have some available, they should be able to sell those.
But they used to turn over inventory. So they could just get it out of their books.
Sure, absolutely. But my point here is that whether you whether you like Apple doing it or not, they're Apple's keyboards. They can choose whether or not to sell them to a third party.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. Now, that does not mean that a third party will say brand X. That doesn't mean brand X cannot make their own keyboard that's compatible with the Mac. If they do that, I don't think Apple should have any right at all whatsoever to stop brand X from reverse engineering and manufacturing their own keyboard.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I would get behind that as a compromise.
Yeah, that's where my point is. And
to be fair, that's exactly what happens in the automotive industry. So I have whatever car, my car has all over one particular brand. We recommend this part. I could go to the store and I could buy that part, or I could buy any other compatible part that's compatible with it. And I don't really care, I'll go for the one that's on sale or the one that looks the same quality and might be cheaper or whatever else. And it depends on what it is, of course. But yeah, so, okay, I can completely get behind that. And that's
right. So to put it back to car parts, since we're talking car parts. So, there's like if I go to AutoZone, they have their brand called CarQuest. Mm-hmm. When I had my old Toyota Avalon, Toyota didn't make the alternator for my model car anymore. And I couldn't find one for any kind of reasonable price. And I was kind of in a time crunch because my car wouldn't always crank. So I went down the road to AutoZone, and their CarQuest brand, they had an alternator that fits my car. I don't think Toyota should have the right to say, you can't use the CarQuest part for a product that is many years outside of warranty and is no longer supported by Toyota. Correct. So it's not just Apple.
So basically then what Right to Repair would do in that case is say you're not allowed to DRM lock individual components to your board.
I absolutely agree with that too. I don't think DRM has any place. Like, I saw the battery thing that Apple's doing, and it's not. That's kind of a weird area, and we can discuss that more in detail later. But that's an interesting area, and I'm not sure it's as big of an issue as people make it out to be. But we'll discuss that.
Let's get into that. Oh, God, Dan.
Are they just killing the batteries when they decide that they don't want you to have a phone anymore?
Well, yes and no. So let's get into that battery component. So one thing is they were caught disabling portions of older devices on updates for newer devices as a means to slow them down to try and get people to buy the new devices. And they were billing this as, well, the battery doesn't work as well anymore, so we're slowing it down. Okay. And then after they were caught doing that, they're like, okay, let's not do that. So they're not doing that anymore. And so now what he's talking about, if I remember correctly, this is the one where they put the battery will still work, but it'll give you like a perpetual notification that it's not an original battery. I would say, give me the option to turn that notification off, but I'd be okay if it's my new device and, on a factory wipe, that new notification will pop back up until the current owner disables it permanently. I mean, that's my thought, but what do you think? Go ahead, Tech.
So that's an interesting conversation because I was at Apple when all of that was kind of like going under the radar. Like the official word was Apple is not throttling performance on their systems at all whatsoever. People are just having battery failures and they need to bring them in for service. And I'm sitting there going, I know for a fact that lithium ion chemical reactions break down over a number of years, whether you use the product or not. So it's like,
yes and no. Yes and no. Not to the degree that all of a sudden after the update, your phone just doesn't work well.
Yeah, that was the iPhone 6 problem that they had with the batteries.
Well, I think that was Bendgate or something. But this was before I worked at Apple before the iPhone 6 came out. So this was the 4S, 5, and 5S was kind of the region that I worked in. And the thing that people kind of have a tendency to not consider or forget about is that when you're in very hot climates, like here in the South, where the coldest it gets is like 40 degrees for like a week, it does things to batteries. If you're also very far up north where it's very cold, that also affects battery performance. So there's all these different factors that go into it besides just manufacturing a battery and what the battery's rated performance is. So there are these externalities that we also have to consider, which bring up these, insane kind of more extreme cases where somebody is using their phone for like an hour and a half and it just shuts off and they can't get it to power back on. Yeah. So there's always these things to consider too, but without getting too far in the weeds, the short version of it is batteries are consumable products. They're going to fail eventually, right?
Yeah.
So
give us the ability to swap them.
Right. So Apple's compromise was, which they later admitted to, and by the way, they actually did officially lose this case last year in 2020, was that we were throttling the performance of the processors to elongate battery life. So Apple was put in a position of either determining what was the better customer experience. Lower performance, but longer lasting batteries in case they needed to make phone calls, especially in an emergency, or higher performance, but for batteries that are failing, and there's no real good way for the end user to identify.
Actually, that's actually a setting in my software now. Do you want performance or extra battery life?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good compromise. That's a really good compromise, because I would say, hey, let's go ahead and just keep the performance, because I just don't want my device to be running slow, and I'll accept the fact that when I've chosen to give high performance and the battery dies, fine. Or here's a thought, just make it so the batteries can be easily replaced.
No.
So why not?
They used to be. You used to get a flip phone.
So let's go ahead and talk about
down the bottom, and you bought new ones.
So let's go ahead and talk about my one explosion, because it's worth saying, because this is the one thing they keep on saying. Well, we can't have right to repair because people are going to blow things up. Well, it actually just turns out that the battery and the Nexus 5X that I have is a very prone to explode battery, and we're talking like boom explosion. We're talking it'll pierce and catch on fire. That battery, as I was trying to replace it the one time, it caught on fire. And, I was a little too far away from anywhere I could go to extinguish it easily. And I just threw it on the carpet and stamped it out. And then got it out enough. Of course, lithium batteries will catch back on fire. Got it out enough to pick it up and throw it in the sink until, run it over. So, and then I fixed the carpet, no big deal. All right. Ever since then, I have tried to destroy every lithium-ion battery I could. I have never had any, I'm beating them with hammers on the class side. Break, explode! They don't do it. There's something about that one particular battery that does catch on fire. But I have never seen a lithium-ion battery otherwise do that. It's just not common.
You got one of the million fluky batteries that will do that.
No. I've had two or three Nexus 5X batteries. I'll do that. Trying to remove it with the official removal tool. They put too much tape on the back and it forces the battery up, and I've had a few of them break. And so what I've learned how to do,
those coils.
Yeah, what I've learned how to do when I need to replace the batteries is the part here. Whoop, I dropped my thing with all my screws in it. So the screen part here is only like $20. They're cheap and expendable. The important part is the circuit board around it. So I've learned that when I need to swap a battery, I take the circuit board out, and if the battery pops, I just buy a new screen. No big deal. And so that's a good compromise, but there's something wrong with that battery, because I have tried, I fix and repair and replace a lot of batteries, and I have tried my hardest to cause other batteries to catch on fire, and I've never had a battery catch on fire.
Samsung 8s had an issue with the batteries bursting into flames until they fixed that problem.
Mm-hmm. And so you bringing that up, I actually want to reply to a comment that Rudy LaPlane made in the
Sure,
in the
we
chat.
should check in on comments too, so go ahead and reply to that one, yeah.
Rudy says electricity runs way better in the cold. In the Army, they ran dual-cooled motherboards side by side 25 years ago. So I want to point out that for something like processors that run very hot, operating them in extreme cold helps because it doesn't warp the transistors. But in something like a battery, which doesn't get as hot, and the lithium-ion battery coils are like in circles, if they get too cold, they'll warp, and that will cause them to not function correctly. So we are talking about two different things. We're not talking about electricity.
And FYI, you cannot charge lithium batteries when they're below freezing unless they are very specially designed to charge. That's why your BMS on a lithium-ion battery
you are absolutely correct.
It's going to have an automatic shutoff.
My DeWalt battery, if I leave it in my work van, with its tools and stuff like that, and I take it inside. It's stone cold. It won't turn on. You put it in the charger flashes air until it comes up to room temperature.
Yep. Yeah, you have to do that. Let's go ahead and check in on the rest of the comments. If anybody else sees comments you want to specifically go to, ever heard of Drive Lock? Okay. If you get into a Ford Pinto repair, the repairs will be worth 10 times over what it's worth. There you go. There is a way to hack the Keurig machine. Yeah, so you can take one of the circuit boards with the DRM and you can patch that over another Keurig cup. But the fact that you have to hack your coffee pot to make it work is kind of a frightening world to be into.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so yeah, they were easy to hack, but man, why? I heard something similar where you can put a medical thingy into the cup to get it work. Yeah. With the old Brother printers, laser printers, you could put a piece of tape over it and it would always show as being full. So it would never give you a low toner warning. That's all I need. I don't need anything more than that. Just do that. So.
Yeah, they use the booby trap stuff with like simple things like paper or maybe a resistor of a particular values put in place. Just as a booby trap item.
Yeah. MacBooks are so overpriced. I bought an i7 MSI gaming laptop for $900. Canadian upgrade to 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, they are. And it's older hardware, too. Right to repairers work perfectly on auto industry. Certainly should work on the electronic industry, though time period should be much smaller, of course. Built your last 12 computers. Razzler review. We'll talk to him if you need to, get a computer built. Right to repair or right to replace a broken part? Ooh, there's a good question.
Might be the same category.
The logo of the apple has a bite out of it. Too obvious. Problem is not Apple. The problem is people buy their products and then cry, oh, please, we'll pay even more. Please treat us nicely. There you go. Companies should be forced to reveal everything about the device after some time, like 3 years. What do you think about that, Tech? Should a company be forced to provide all information after a certain number of time?
No, I think the intellectual property on like software and hardware design, I think is like 15 years, right? So I think at the end of like 15 years, it should be, I think that they have the right, because you look at iterative technologies, like you look at the first Apple A4 processor, which was Apple's in-house designed processor, is only, I think, 11 years old. So I don't think they should be forced to disclose that information for another 4 years. I think that that's fair. Because we also run into this, and this is kind of external to just the market, we also run into things like international competitors. So I'm in the United States. I think we all are. Obviously, China is a concern for us right now as a military power. If they had the same computational power as the U.S., we might be looking at our advantage technologically would be narrowed, which would be bad for the U.S. in general. I'm just making a kind of an obtuse point here. I'm not saying that that's my specific view, but that is the argument. So I don't think they should be forced to do so, but I do think that if somebody reverse engineered their own part that was compatible, I think we kind of went over this already, but if you figure out how to make one yourself that works, I think that you should absolutely be allowed to market it and put it into a product, But I want to caveat that by saying if something is within, say, Apple's warranty and you go to a third party and get a third party battery put in, Apple should not be responsible for that third party battery.
I agree with that.
Here's another issue. They shouldn't be able to actually duplicate other suppliers' parts. Apple parts should not, for a certain time, be able to be duplicated due to patent material. That's the whole idea about getting a patent, is to keep your competitors from stealing your ideas and your designs.
Yeah, I agree. A company does not necessarily have to release schematics or information, but they should not be allowed to prevent another company from reverse engineering them.
Right.
Then that's breach of patent if you reverse engineer something.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we have to talk about that because now we're dealing into like the copyright law type stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we're using reverse engineering in a somewhat obtuse manner.
Another thing that's unclear is, okay, if you patent something and let's say it's made over in China, do the Chinese people have to actually obey our patents and not touch them? Or can they just freely milk right out on them?
Well, in China, there is no intellectual property. So to them, it's a foreign concept to say you have an idea and only you are allowed to use it.
Right.
So I guess in this respect, maybe we need to differentiate what we're talking about. There's a difference between reverse engineering a keyboard and reverse engineering a processor.
The thing is do not take your secrets to China if you want to keep them secret.
But that's what everybody does. Let's go ahead and have China manufacture it. I'm trying to think if I was actually open up a few components of my new super secret project and like, wow, like I just bought something and didn't even know it. It's made in Pittsburgh. I'm like, whoa, I feel good. I actually bought U.S. property, you know. And I'm finding a couple little odds and ends that I have are U.S. made, but for the most part, everything made in China, made in China, made in China. All right.
There's another aspect of things that concerns me too, and it has to do with durable goods. They're making refrigerators, washing machines, and dryers, and appliances, and all that stuff cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to the point where they break within a couple of years of you owning them, if that. Mm-hmm. And there used to be something like if automobiles and appliances are considered durable goods. Don't ever forget that. Durable goods are supposed to last a considerably long period of time, generally 10 years or longer. And yes, it can break down once or twice and have it easily fixed, but it's supposed to be repairable. And, it takes more energy for them to keep making this new stuff and forcing it on us when our old stuff croaks and you can't get it fixed no more. There's a huge, concern. They keep telling us we got this global warming and carbon emissions, all this other junk, but they let these big companies crap. Yeah, they let these big companies generate the hugest bulk of it, forcing their junk on us and forcing us to fill landfills with their old stuff.
Yeah, like I had the blender I had until like 8 years ago was from the 1970s.
Exactly.
It finally broke. I've been through 3 blenders since then. It's like, can you guys make a product that doesn't suck? Now, to be fair, one of them was a Walmart brand, and I was happy that thing died.
Oh, well, there's your mistake.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Like, oh, crap. Took that thing back, and it, like, for use of the first time, it smelled like burning rubber. I'm like, take that guy. Yeah, there's something broken in here. Take it back, find something. Yeah.
I had a Kirby vacuum cleaner. It lasted 25 years, and it sucked really good.
I know, right? Isn't it funny? Vacuum cleaner is the only thing that's good when it sucks.
That's the only thing you want to suck is a vacuum. Indeed.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
You don't ever forget the term durable goods. There's still meaning in that. And,
Yeah, and we would hope that things would be more durable, but the
you get an argument with somebody, you can turn around and tell them that this is not a durable good anymore. It's garbage.
Yeah.
Let me log in real quick.
All right, let's have a look at we talked about Rossmann really quick. So if you are most interested in the right to repair, Louis Rossmann he pretty much leads the charge on a lot of the right repair, being an independent Apple person, but this guy knows his stuff. Now, he did one thing I'd like to point you to. I think it was the myth-busting passion as a driving factor. No, that's not it. Bra. It was the bra. Missouri voters. So somebody in Missouri pushed out it was a very propaganda type video. One of the things that claimed is that the Right to Repair group, including Louis Rossmann, is of course funded by George Soros. And, associated with Bernie and all this kind of stuff. And so that is absolutely, if you only watch one video of his sometime soon, that would be the one you want to watch, because he really does a good job of identifying all of the flaws in that particular propaganda piece that's trying to convince Missouri voters not to vote for right to repair. And in reality, we should be voting for it. So. But he's got a lot of good stuff, and if you have Apple devices, a lot of his videos are how to fix different Apple devices, so go ahead and find some of those. The other one is iFixit, of course. They are also leaders in right to repair. They'll have tutorials, tools, videos, all sorts of stuff. And this is a nice little meme. Would you buy a car if it was illegal to replace the tires? Would you buy a bike if you couldn't fix the chain? Yeah. Of course, this is kind of something that you would actually see in Sacramento right now, as they pass rules that says you can't do a lot of car repairs yourself. You're under arrest for circumventing a technology measure that controls access to this tire. It looks like you'll be needing a new car.
Tom, keep in mind, San Francisco, that's over in California on the other side of the mountains, and they have a pollution problem there. They don't want people tampering with their cars. That includes the pollution devices that are added to them to make them California compliant.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's that they're really incompetent buffoons over there. I actually covered those. Covered those. We're talking you're not allowed to change your tires. That's how bad it's gotten in Sacramento. No, you are allowed to change your tires. It's
That's
a weird,
downright communist.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It doesn't have as much to do with that. Also, they're claiming a ratchet set is specialty. Anything that you would need a ratchet set for, you couldn't do, because that's a type of tool you only find in a professional automotive store.
What do they do? Ban all the auto parts stores?
Apparently, I don't know.
They banned Walmart while they were at it.
I know, right? I know that's how insane that is, though. So
Walmart's spending millions of dollars to the local government.
Now, I did hear a story that somewhere in California, a city banned any new gas stations being built. They can't build any more new gas stations in this city. I forgot which one it was.
What happens when Antifa goes and burns one down because the vigilante guy is not there to put out the dumpster fire, the literal dumpster fire that they're rolling towards the gas station?
You aren't allowed to build any more gas stations because of global warming. However, we will continue to use electrically powered, coal-fire powered electrical stations to stop the trend. Yes, that sounds like a genius idea.
Yeah, very interesting.
Do I finally have good audio again?
Hey, Mark, we got you. You got good audio. How's it going?
Pretty good. Yeah, right to repair is super, super important. And that makes me want to take needles and stick them in my eyelids because that guy, I have not seen that video, so I've got to check that out.
Oh, don't do that, buddy.
Razzle Review has the best. All the nuts are in California. The bolts leave the state in self-defense. Epic.
That's a good one.
Epic.
I want to... Ed Ted Zed in the Discord chat says, just show the Sacramento police a fake ASE mechanic certificate to change your tire and you'll be fine. The problem with that is you won't be doing it with the police. You'll be doing it with qualified social workers.
That is right.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
I'd rather be in China.
That's not.
Yeah, anyway. So I guess to summarize what we've been talking about, right to repair, I think we all kind of agree that we should be able to fix the things that we buy without the manufacturer interfering. Whether that be a John Deere tractor or an Apple device. Would we agree on that or not? Or is there a little bit of holdout on that?
I completely agree.
We did it last century. We can do it this century.
Yeah. And there should be more service offerings that provide lifetime memberships or lifetime deals because that's excellent.
There's even a problem. there's even a problem now where there's a shortage of people. Like if you get to some area in your car and you're not sure how to fix it or you're not capable,
Yeah.
there's a shortage of these people now that can do that.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, I remember when I was a young kid, there was Radio Shacks everywhere. And I got into electronics really thick and heavy because of the Radio Shacks. You could go in there and get these little kits and stuff, put them together, and you had an AM radio or some counter or some processor doohickey, and they were fun. It led me to in my older years, as I got out of high school, meet up with another guy that had an electronics engineering firm, and he took me in as an apprentice, and I got to play with the real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of these things that kickstart people into these vocational areas to teach. To teach people. Our schools are a wreck. I mean, they took out everything that gave value to our communities and stuff like that.
That's a whole nother.
There's no more auto shop. There's no more metal shop. No wood shop. No pottery. None of that junk.
We have some of that, but oftentimes it's co-ops between the public schools and the technical schools in the area. I know a friend of mine, graduated high school just a couple years ago, and he actually took auto shop. But I think they had to be bussed over to the Votech Center.
The things that helped us grow as a people have been taken away from us.
Yeah, and that's where repair is. So my friend, they would always call me for computer stuff, but he broke his laptop screen. He's like, "No, I want to learn how to fix it." Didn't even call me on it. He took it apart. He looked at the part number. He ordered it from Amazon. It came in. He took his computer apart, and it boosted his self-confidence a boatload by the fact that he could take that thing apart, and he had a once broken computer, and now he had it fixed.
I have one positive thing to say about this century over the last century. If you really want to venture into fixing something yourself, you have a very good chance of finding a how-to YouTube thing that somebody did that will show you step by step how to do each step.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. All right, let's see. Thumb typing on my thumb pad on the floor. All right, let's see. There are a shortage of brains in the USA. I agree.
Generally, yes.
Let's see. Did I miss anything else good on the Discord? Let's see.
There's brains in the United States, but they're just not filled. They're skulls of mush. There's no vacancy on them.
Yeah. All right. So, well, actually, I expected to not finish through the topic that quick.
I was gonna add something. I know we're toward the end now.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm simultaneously doing a remote session, which is really super important. Anyway,
probably shouldn't be on the stream.
I don't know why I share that extra information. I don't know why I do that. Something I need to fix.
Well, Mark, you have the time because the rest of us have been talking ever since the stream started.
Yeah, good.
Right. Well, I think in general, and this is going to be a duh moment, but what Tom just said, when you have parts soldered onto the motherboard like RAM and SSD, that gets to be a little too much for me. I think a company should have the right to make their products how they wish, but there should be like standards that they have to follow. They shouldn't actually be able to solder on RAM.
I disagree. I'll disagree. The reason
I agree with Mark on the simple fact that they're making the product faster to the dump. Not really. They're not making it faster to the dump if the end user has some rational thought to, you can solder that RAM off the board. You can do all that. And soldering it on makes it a more durable product. Overall. Yeah, but you need special tools like a hot air gun and all that junk.
That's fine. I am perfectly okay with that. You know, a hot air gun costs $20 at Lowe's. I know. I almost bought one. Then I realized my friend.
You need a hot air soldering gun, not just a hot air gun for heat shrink. You need a special
but that's
surface
okay.
mount tools soldering unit.
Yeah, we're not saying in right to repair everything should be easy. We're just saying it should be possible.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to add to that.
Yeah, the only thing
it needs to be easier.
The only thing that's seriously problematic right now is that they're being Gestapo about preventing people from providing replacement parts, and they are trying to DRM lock parts to their boards. Those are the things that need to go away. Everything else, I'm not saying it has to be easy to fix your stuff. I'm just saying it has to be possible, because where there's a will, there's a way. Go ahead.
But where does it
disagree
end?
There for the first time in a while.
Where does it end? Where it gets to the point where the parts in the machine are so badly glued and intertwined together, you might as well throw it in the dump because it costs far more money to fix it than it does to buy another one.
Stop. All right. So hold on a sec. So we're now getting outside of the area of legislation, and we're getting into a market area. So the market has said they want smaller devices. They want faster devices. They want devices that are more electronically efficient so that the batteries last longer. This is not a legislation issue. It's also not a right to repair issue. We have all collectively gone into this and said, I'm going to buy the next iPhone. I'm going to buy the next iPad. I'm going to buy the next MacBook, regardless of what it's soldered onto. I don't care if any of the parts come apart. I don't care if it's all glued together or not. We all keep buying into this stuff. So the companies go, okay, well, this is what the market wants, so we're just going to keep making that. And Tom makes my point. Tom makes my point for me.
that is the point. If we're going to if we are going to change Apple, we have to walk with our feet. We have to say, Apple, enough. This is why I will not buy a smartphone that doesn't have a headphone jack. I use a headphone jack. Deal with it. I'm not using your Bluetooth crap. A, Bluetooth headphones are much more expensive. B, they don't sound as good. C, nobody should be walking around with Bluetooth on all the time anyway. No, give me a headphone jack. It's long lasting, it's durable, and I get headphones dirt cheap. No big deal. So I will not buy a phone without a headphone jack. When enough collective people stop doing that and stop compromising, that is what causes change. It's the same thing. So like Apple, a lot of people said, oh, we want smaller form factor phones. And I agree. I loved the smaller form factor phones. I don't like these big phones. But Apple came out. They're like, fine. They released another small form factor phone. It was a terrible seller. They're not doing it again.
Well, in Apple's defense, they got rid of the headphone jack, but they didn't make it headphone jack-less. You can buy a little dongle. Mm-hmm. I have 4 or 5 of them that go right in the lightning bolt adapter, and your headphone plugs in there, and it works just fine.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I guess that's.
It's not the preferred way, but they did give you a workaround.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, on some level here, there is the counter argument to both Mark and Dan in that, you know, y'all are saying it's faster to the dump.
Have it.
The problem here is that, at least for Apple's products, and this is not universal across the board, so this can broadly apply to many, many companies. But, you know, you look at things like the iPhone 6S, you can still buy, I mean, there's hundreds of different kinds of third-party batteries for an iPhone 6S. And the iPhone 6S got the latest iOS 14 update. It doesn't have all the new features, but it has all the security components of it. That phone, I mean, when did that thing come out? 2015? You know, I mean, that's a 6-year-old phone, almost going on 7 years old. I can't take the argument seriously that they're rushing to the dump with these things.
I have to say,
I'm on a 7. It's got to be 4 or 5 years old.
So is my dad.
Soldering.
My old 7.
And I'm still on the same battery. I haven't had a battery swap.
Okay,
yeah, great.
You're good, Tech.
Good, Mark.
Thank you for sharing.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. It's all good information. It's useful usage cases and stuff. Here's the thing: the new SSDs and hard drives these days are 7 millimeters. how thin do we want to go? We solder onto the main board and save a few millimeters. I mean, I get it. It's a style. It looks great, but I think that's a moot point, especially when you have systems now that are fanless and require even less space and less thickness. Now with the there's no moving parts anymore. The only moving part left is the fan, and now they're making fanless systems. So you could still have a market for that and have legislation say you cannot solder on parts, because I just feel like it's not every person, not every average shop even, or every average person is going to have soldering skills. It is something that is easy enough to learn and pick up, but I just feel like that's putting it out of the hands of what I would consider reasonable repair, is to have some basic modules that clip together like Legos, honestly, because I think that opens it up for the average user and the shop.
Well, I don't completely agree, just because I'm not saying that it has to be easy for the end user. My mother doesn't know how to delete email. My mother is not the end user that's going to be fixing stuff. Right to repair just means that I can hire whom I want to fix the device. And if my shop is not capable of doing soldering stuff, they're not a good shop. So I'm okay with that. And, I don't really want the government to get involved in telling you how to assemble your electronics. I don't really care if it's super thin or not. I don't give a crap. Some people do, some people don't. I don't. That's kind of where I am. Like, I don't want I want the government involved, not very much, but I do want them involved to the extent to say, okay, you can't prevent somebody from fixing a device or having a device fixed that they just paid you good money for. That's where I'll go. I do want to acknowledge Eric, the goat guy. Thank you for the super chat.
I could concede
they stopped putting SD cards phone. Yeah, I really wish they did, but an SD card in the phone has never been a massive selling point for me.
Something like that could be a workaround to make them, if you're gonna solder it on, at least have the option for expandable memory, or have a USB port that is specifically for an external hard drive. I think that's a good go-between to suffice, because most devices are going to have that anyway, unless you're like Apple and you're going with a portless iPhone. Okay.
Did anybody accidentally put your phone in the dishwasher before?
No.
That's what Thomas Vanderhoff. Well, no. Well, he says dishwashing, but maybe washing. I don't know. He says, I do see advantages to waterproofing for dishwashing accidents.
I imagine if you put your phone into a washing machine, it's going to get banged around in there, and you're probably going to have to be more worried about the shattered screen.
I am willing to.
It is possible to dump one in the toilet.
Well, that's actually how what's the other lady that does iPhone repair? What's her name? I forget her name. But she works closely with Louis Rossman at times.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah, Jessica Jones. What's her company's name again? I forget.
I don't know the company name. I know her name's Jessica Jones, but I don't know the company.
Yeah, so she actually got into iPhone repair when she dropped her phone in the toilet and it got jammed up there. And she took her toilet out and smashed the toilet to pull the phone out. And then Apple's like, well, we can't get your pictures off. She's like, well, I'll figure out how to get the pictures off. And now she teaches people how to fix iPhones.
Mark says iPad rehab.
iPad rehab. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Does anybody in here or out there, has anybody had to get a TV repaired lately? Or do they just throw them out?
Never had a TV repaired.
The thought came to me because I was thinking, well, geez, there ain't no TV repair shops left anymore. I haven't seen one in 3 decades.
I actually repaired a friend's TV that was having HDMI problems. I mean, I just tore the TV off.
What do we do with our old TVs now?
Yeah, throw them out,
I was going to say, I actually, it's a funny thing. You're talking about my Geek Squad experience. We got a lot of TVs sent out for repair to our service center in Kentucky. And almost universally, they would come back unrepaired because people were like, I'm not going to pay $700 to get the old TV fixed when the new, better TV is $500, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like one thing that's outpacing repair price is a new TV.
There is a huge market for the recycling business where they supposedly
you get your new TV much cheaper now because it spies on you. It's a data collection instrument, and that's why they can sell so cheap.
It's not only that. It's not only that. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but it's not only that. But anyway, I hear what you're saying, Dan.
Yeah, brother-in-law's father worked as a TV repairman. Yeah. My brother's nephews, uncles, brothers, sisters, former
I used to
roommate.
repair my own TVs too, but when they went to the flat screen models with all the surface mount electronic parts in them, you know, either I buy $800 worth of tools or I throw it out and go get a new TV for $800.
Yep, that's about right. Well, times have changed, that's for sure, and sometimes for the better, and sometimes for the worse. All right. We'll go ahead and run into our closing thoughts today. Tech, we'll start down there. What are your closing thoughts?
Well, despite my arguments this evening, I want to say a couple of things just on a personal level. I respect Louis Rossmann as a technician. He is very good at what he does. On a personal level, I oftentimes feel like he's looking for a fight that doesn't exist. That being said, I think right to repair is very important for the majority of people. I think it's overall a good thing. I think we should all be supporting Louis Rossmann in this endeavor.
Yeah. What do you mean by the fight that doesn't exist?
He just seems like he's somebody who just wants to argue with Apple over every little design change ever. Like he's like how Mark is upset about the soldering of things.
Okay.
You know, like I remember seeing a video years ago where he was very harsh on Apple's like design for their hinge. And I'm sitting there going, I have looked at Dell's and HP's and Toshiba laptops that all have the exact same hinge design. Why is Apple the problem in this? It's a hinge. Like they all make a metal hinge that has a little metal frame that goes up the side of the LCD, and the rest of it's plastic. They all do that.
Tech can go one step farther. All of them have some kind of defect out of the factory, one way or another. It doesn't have to be just a hinge.
We'll talk about Dell's 12-year defect tomorrow.
The touch screens use plastic grommets now, so it's also assembled in such a way where it's glued on with adhesive, and
Mark, you have to recycle. You have to recycle. It's climate change, global warming. You have to recycle.
That's right. You got to recycle by running your computer through a shredder.
When I can reuse it, that's even better.
No, they've been recycled. That's why they're used in new products, Mark.
Dan, what are your final words?
Well, there should be then not recycle.
I'm just kidding.
Because the customer's right to a hinge is more important.
I think right to repair is extremely important, and it must be pursued as a right that we have. If we don't do something about it and we can't keep right to repair, what we're going to wind up is with products that are at an accelerated rate of getting in your hands, broken, and in the trash faster and faster and faster, as fast as they can push this until somebody stops it.
Anyone who is taking to add to Dan's point, anyone who is taking apart even a system with soldered on RAM that's a higher end system, they make the plastic housing and stuff so cheap that it literally will brittly break in your hand if you're not careful. If you put too much pressure, it'll break. The damn what's the word for the screens that I'm looking for that was just used? God almighty.
LCD, OLED.
No, the grabbers.
XDR. What?
The grabbers.
Grommets?
The grabbers.
The grommets?
The grommets?
Not the grommets, but mine is gone.
The point is they're going to come up with different.
It's cheap.
They're going to spend money to make the thing as most difficult to take apart as possible, which will make it to the point where it's just it's more cost effective to throw it away and get another one and keep the cycle going and accelerate the cycle.
That's bad for
until somebody stands up and says, "Hey, we're wasting way too much energy, destroying the planet, filling the landfills and everything else with this garbage."
I do notice most of the people whining about climate change are doing it from Apple devices. I do say that.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Guys, you've got to wake up. Apple lies about privacy. Check the Hated Ones video on that.
Yeah.
Also, Apple lies
I'm not getting into this argument with you because I've renamed the hated one to the idiot one. That man does not know what he's talking about when it comes to Apple. And that's a whole other podcast.
I don't agree with everything that he said either, but I think
he
on a basic level.
Hey, Tech, I got a corporate Apple iPhone 6. They told me to keep. Correct. And I thought I could repurpose this phone and get it a new phone number and have a second phone. So what I did is I actually did a factory reset on the phone.
I do.
And when I did that,
what you mean.
It asks you your language, and then it comes up and there's corporate software in it that stops you right there. You can't do nothing else without the corporate password with the phone. It's a pile of junk because it has corporate security stuff right.
Sell it on eBay. It's just call it the leaked phone.
Well,
I don't
Apple
know
lies about going green.
You were given a phone by a corporation that you can't use, and the corporation doesn't want to deal with it. That's not
why. The thing is I didn't know it was in there. I really didn't.
That said, they're still better on privacy.
Like you were saying, we were Googled. I Googled this around on the internet and found out, there's stuff like this in the phone, and it's virtually useless with it in it. And there was a lady, I looked at her article. She said she bought one off of eBay, and the guy at eBay took the phone back, gave her money back because he knew that she couldn't use it.
Yeah. That's pretty much all you can do. I mean, if the device is locked to effectively like an Apple ID or a business identity, like an enterprise identity.
The point is when it comes to security in Apple, it is there if you are in that situation as a corporation.
Sure.
All right, Mark, we're going to give you your final words. If you're there.
Go check out Louis Rossman and Jessa Jones. Show some support and love. Yep. If you're interested in Right to Repair, contact Louis by email if you want to help in any way, especially if it involves like going to your senator's office, your local politicians, and get the word out to them that you support Right to Repair. And maybe even like as bad as sometimes they seem ineffective, but the petitions, if you can get enough people in your community maybe to stand up against it, I don't know. I just think the word needs to be got out there. If you have friends and family that are frustrated with not being able to repair their products, then let them know that Right to Repair is a thing so they can pass the word on, especially if they know someone in connection to one of the lawmakers. They really need to understand that your particular state, their constituents want Right to Repair, and they demand it. And if they don't do it, then you can vote them out.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah, right. Maybe that'll work.
Well, we'll go ahead and wrap that one up now. And
the only way.
I will be streaming on my other channel tonight. We're going to be talking about recent examples of Christian persecution in what are supposed to be free states. So if you are interested in that, jump on over to the Christian stream. I just put the link there in the chat there, so you can go ahead and have a look over there. We are streaming, not doing our usual study, but I thought this would be a fun little diversion for the week. So anyway, tomorrow we'll be back for the weekly news roundup, and I believe I have a couple other ideas coming up for a few other videos, and we'll chat more about that on the weekly news roundup tomorrow. So we'll see you guys then.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye, everyone.